So a few videos back, I had showcased my PSA return, which was the first PSA submission that I made. In total, I had submitted 16 cards, and here I split them up into two groups. These cards all got 10s. These ones all got 9s and below. So from my first PSA submission, my gem rate was 7 out of 16, which honestly I'm a bit disappointed because I wanted at least 50% gem rate, which would have been 8 or more of these cards getting 10s. But I did say that I'm going to do an in-depth video of why each of these cards got 9s or below, specifically showcasing the mistakes that I made by submitting these guys. And then I mentioned that I'm going to do a deep dive on all these cards and explain exactly why they got a 9 or below, so I could learn, you guys could learn, and then next time we could get a higher gem rate. So I'll do that one by one to showcase to you guys exactly what happened. Alright, so let's start. So real quickly, let's go through the 10s that I got, just to show you guys what I got. Not going to do an in-depth review of them, but they all 10s, so I guess they're all in good condition, according to PSA. Genesect, Glaceon V-Star, the Rainbow Three Birds, Yanmega EX, Wailord, Blastoise EX from 151, and this Rayquaza VMAX. Out of the 16 cards that I submitted, 7 of them got 10s. Now let's go on to the 9s and below. What I'll also do is I'll show you guys the PSA scans. So if you guys didn't know, PSA actually provides scans that are publicly accessible. So what you could do is you could just search up the certification number of any given card, especially if it's a more recent card. I think the really old ones don't have the scans, but these high definition scans will help show you guys why the card got the grade it got. There's no real justification, but the scan, if you look through it, usually you could identify why it got the grade it got, especially if you don't have the card on hand and you want to look at someone else's card. Really nice way to do it. So I'll put the scans on the side. Alright, so let's start with the Charizard 151 SIR. So this card I actually pulled myself, so it was in really good condition when I submitted it. Honestly, no whitening on the back. All corners are really nice, but I knew it wasn't going to get a 10 for the specific reason that the centering on this is not very great. So the card is actually like a bit tilted, like I don't know if it will show on camera, but you could also refer to the scan, but the card kind of like, the art's a bit tilted. I guess it goes like this, like it goes from the top left to the bottom right. That's how it tilts. And that's really the reason it didn't get the 10. Otherwise, the condition of the card is mint, like it's gem mint. I packed it myself, so I sleeved it right away. There was no one else that touched it, and it's been in a sleeve since it got packed. So really, I'm going to create different piles, but this one was the centering. Let's put the centering pile on the most left. Alright, so now let's move on to the Lucario from Furious Fist, or it's the promo one. So this Lucario, I kind of knew it wasn't going to 10 as well. I did submit it because it is an expensive card, and it was really clean. Like the back of this, I can't even see any whitening on the corners, but I knew it wasn't going to 10 because of the centering on this guy. It's actually like probably the worst card that I have in terms of centering from this submission. It's really bottom right heavy. So it, like, the bottom is heavy, if you guys could see with the scan or in the camera, and the right side is very heavy as well. So it's like really this way. Kind of, you guys get it, like this bottom right corner is heavy, so it's off center. I think that's why I got an 8, as well as some whitening on the front of it, not really the back, but the front has a bit of whitening on the top right corner, and I think there was some whitening or some kind of like edge wear on the top of it. Very minor stuff, but that does merit an 8, I guess. A 9 would have been great for this, but I think the centering was just too bad, and also that whitening on the front knocked it down one more grade, down to an 8. So this one really goes in between the centering and the wear, but I'm going to put it on the centering pile because it was really centering. Alright, next we have the Ends Plan SIR from Black Bolt. So this is a very clean card. I pulled it myself from the Black Bolt God Pack that I got. So this was the SIR in it. I know it wasn't the best SIR that I could have pulled from a God Pack, but nonetheless, I was really happy with it. And I wanted to submit it because it looked super clean. Honestly, there's no real edge wear or anything on the back. So I thought it would 10 for sure. Well, when I got it back, unfortunately, only got a 9. And then when I really looked at it, I guess it was the centering, maybe on the bottom. It's a bit heavy compared to other trainer cards that like this that have the trainer and support at the top. But when I looked really closely, there is this very minor print error on the bottom as well. You could see it very clearly in the scan, so I think that might have been the key factor that bumped it down to a 9. If there wasn't that, possibly could have got a 10. I don't know if the centering is the reason or it's the dot, but one of those two bumped it down to a 9. Next, we have this promo Pikachu from the Paldea Adventure Chest. So first glance, this card looks super clean, but then when I looked at it very closely, there is very, very minor whitening on the corners, like just 1 or 2 dots on the corners that I thought it was good enough. But then when I looked, when you look really closely at the scan or in person, there's a bit of whitening on the front as well. Very minor stuff nonetheless, but just that one whitening on the top right corner and then a little bit on the bottom left corner. So really those small little white specks or like just minor scratches on the corners or on the edges of the cards really affected a lot. I mean, it's not a lot because it's only one grade, but from a 10 to a 9 it really hurts. So I'm going to be very careful when I do inspect cards for those stuff. But it is hard, like inspecting cards when you have them in hand. You have to really take a magnifying glass or put it under a microscope to catch those things. And oftentimes maybe we're too strict on them or we're too loose on the cards because we have a bias on our cards. But yeah, that's that. So for these kind of cards, really get a second opinion. I did get a second and a third opinion on these cards, which I did drop it down to 16. The initial batch of cards was actually 25 cards that I knocked down to 16 because of my second and third opinion. But even with that, unfortunately, I didn't get a high gem rate. All right, next is Gyarados EX. So even though I didn't get a high gem rate, I did know that some of these cards were not going to get 10s. This Gyarados, I was hoping for a 10, but I kind of knew it was only going to get a 9 just because it is an older card, so they're very strict on it. It's well, it's not super old, but it's a mid-era card. Breakpoint, so it's from the X and Y series. So with this card, very clean overall. Like honestly, when I look back at it, I should have been expecting a 10. It's super clean in terms of like the surface, and there's not a lot of whitening. But then when you look really closely, there is another dot right here, so it's a print error on the back of it. Very possible that knocked it down to a 9, including the minor whitening on one of the top corners. The front centering, it's pretty good, honestly. Like the print quality back then was a lot better. The centering from like the older mid-era sets were a lot better compared to modern sets, just because they were printing less cards. But maybe very minor centering issues. The bottom is a bit heavier than the top, but I'm going to go with the print error, and I actually made a mistake. I should have been dividing it up better, but for this one, this was really an edgeware, so Pikachu's edgeware, and the ends plan, I'm going to go with print error. That's the little dot that you guys see, that's why it got the 9. So here we have 3 piles. This is centering, this is print error, and then this is whitening. Alright, so next we have the Nidoking illustration rare from 151. I'm kind of conflicted with this one. I'm going to say it is centering because it is a bit right heavy and ever so slightly... Actually, no, the top and bottom is pretty clean, especially from afar. Like they look almost identical, but the right is a bit heavy. I think they are very picky on this one, but there is a bit of whitening on the corners. Like the whitening, you can't even really see it unless you hit it with the light. You see the ever so slightly sliver of white, which that's how they base it. Like it's that strict. It has to be a perfect card for almost perfect card for a 10, or very 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 small whitening. Like very 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 limited whitening. But yeah, a bit of whitening on the bottom right corner on the back, and then ever so slightly on the bottom left corner as well. Maybe the scan could pick it up a bit better if you guys could see that, but nonetheless, I'm gonna go with whitening for this one. I'm gonna say the reason is whitening because the centering, I think it's... Yeah, I don't know. It's a toss up between the two. Like the right is a bit heavier, so it could be centering or whitening. Or never mind. I'm gonna change my mind. I'm gonna put it in whitening because looking closely, the corners are not that great. Next, we have the white Kyurem GX. So this was a really clean copy as well. These cards I like to submit because raw they're worth like a couple of dollars, but graded they at least they cover the grading cost even if they 9. It's a really nice card, but immediately you guys could tell from the scan or on the camera that the centering is not that great. The bottom is a lot heavier than the top, so well, not a lot, but you know what I mean. Like it's a heavier bottom than the top, so that's probably why I got 9. Otherwise, the card condition is very clean. Like the quality of these cards are a lot nicer than modern era in terms of print, because back then, like, I don't think they were printing as many cards, so they were taking a lot more care with it. And uh, as long as it was preserved properly, like in a sleeve or in a binder, these cards maintain their condition. But the centering is something you cannot control, so unfortunately centering is an issue why I got a 9 versus a 10. This one hurt a lot. So a 6. This was the first 6 that I got. Funny fact, I didn't even get a 7 in this submission. It just went, all of them were 9s except the Lucario was an 8, and then a 6 here. So this one really puzzled me. I knew it wasn't going to 10. I was hoping for a 9 or even an 8 for this card, not a 6 obviously. Um, Looking at it, I can't really tell what is the exact reason. Like, there is a bit of whitening on the corners, which is why I knew it wasn't going to get a 10. On the back corners, there's, especially on the top, there's like a white, a very noticeable whitening, so it probably would have gotten an 8. I mean, I was expecting an 8 for this one. So for whitening, I would say it deserves an 8 because there's that whitening on the top right corner. The bottoms are like the other corners, very, very minor stuff. The front had a bit of whitening on the corners, so that's why I was like, okay, it's gonna 8. It's still worth submitting. It's a really nice card, tag team, obviously. Usually a 6 is because there's surface damage, like a dent or a scratch or something like that. Well, I was trying to identify any surface damage on this, and I did identify 2 areas that potentially could have been it. So this bottom left corner has a very slight indent, like it's like a millimeter or two, or a 16th of an inch. Like you could barely see it, but once you hit it with the light, that's possibly it, or the top right corner. Like, I'm trying to be very analytical and specific on why I got what I got, but oftentimes I think these things get overlooked depending on the card and the grader. So that's the reason why you should still submit it, because you never know. Sometimes it will come back as 6, or it could have even come back a 9. Like, it's really subjective to the grader. An 8, a 9, it probably wouldn't have 10. I doubt it, but you sometimes see cards that slip through and they're not in great condition, but they get high grades like a 9 or even a 10, which is very common, especially in older certifications, but even in newer ones. Like, PSA is grading millions of cards a month. Lots of cards slip through and get high grades. So if you want to gamble and take the risk, it's worth submitting cards that maybe are on the edge of a 9 or a 10, and oftentimes you could get a 10. Like we'll put this card aside because this was the one that hurt the most, but a 6, most likely because of those dents that someone noticed when they hit it against the light, so they automatically graded it a 6. But I will tell you guys this: some of the cards that I got 10s, I don't think they really deserved a 10. If we're going by the criteria of centering that PSA goes by, some of these don't have the greatest centering. Like, I don't know. This one was the most surprising. The Gem 10 on the Rainbow Birds. Like, it was a very clean copy, but I did not expect it to get a 10. Like, I was really on the edge. Some of the other 9s, I expected to get a 10 over this. So you never know. It's always worth submitting your cards, even if you're on the edge. If you think it's going to get a 9 or a 10 and it's good enough, it's worth submitting. Do it. Honestly, I recommend you to submit most cards, unless they're like just bulk or hollows or whatnot. But anything that you like, try your luck. All right, so the piles are kind of like out of order now, but we'll put this in the back because really it's its own pile at this point. It's a dent. That's probably why I got a 6. Including the whitening, and centering is actually very nice on it. I would say centering would have probably gotten a 10 if everything else was good, but we'll say it's the 6 is because of the dent and the bottom left corner. All right, so lastly we have the Pikachu from Lost Origin, the full art or trainer gallery. This one bummed me out a lot as well. I was hoping for a 10. I really like this artwork. It's one of my favorite Pikachu artworks. I would have really kept it in the PC, but I don't like keeping 9s in the PC if I don't have to. Obviously, I could always submit other cards. I do have other copies of this card that I'm probably going to submit, so I could wait and sell this one to recuperate some of the grading costs. That's really why I would sell a card, because grading is expensive. Like, each card for me costs about 32 Canadian. US, that's probably about $24-25 USD. So it's not cheap to grade, and you want to get your money back, because this whole submission cost me upwards of like $500 to submit 16 cards. That's very expensive. So you have to sell some cards to recuperate that cost. Then you could do another round of grading. But nonetheless, enough talk about grading. I'll probably do another video about the grading process and how much it costs and how to do it faster and whatnot. But this Pikachu, I was really analytical on why he got a 9, and I tried to figure it out. I mean, I was hoping for a 10. The corners, there is very, very minor whitening on the bottom 2 corners, but could have got a 10 nonetheless with that. Then when I looked really closely, there is a very minor dot on the back right corner near the middle, or a bit higher than the middle, which is a white dot. You could see it in the scans as well, or in person. I thought it was dust, so I missed it. It sucks that I missed it, but I think that's probably the reason. Again, it's a print error, I guess. Not including the whitening, or including the whitening, it bumped it down to a 9. I guess if it was clean otherwise, maybe it could have gotten a 10, but again, they're being strict with their grading because they don't want to hand out 10s left and right. A lot of graders, or a lot of people submitting, are strict with their cards already, so the selection of cards that go into grading are usually some of the best of the best. So PSA has to be even more strict, so they could limit their population and control the amount of 10s that they're giving, because if they give 10s left and right, that'll devalue the service. It just business as usual. I'm not complaining about it that much, but I wish I had done a better job. I wish I had a better gem rate. So really, that's it. I'm gonna put this in print error, because I think that's the reason I think that's the factor that tipped the scale from a 10 to a 9. So looking back, the 3 main reasons why my cards got 9s or even lower. First, we have centering. So 3 of them, I would say they got it for centering, especially the Lucario, an 8. I think it was for the centering. He probably could have gotten a 9 or higher if the centering was perfect. But the Charizard, that for sure was centering, and it's not even centering, it's more like it's crooked. Unfortunately, like it's very minor. It's not really noticeable until you look close, but it's ever so slightly off. Like, it's maybe 1 degree off the, so it's not like the card is slanted almost. It's weird, but it sucks. I'm gonna keep it in the PC either way, because it was the first SIR that I pulled, and it's very memorable for me. It was a very good moment, so that's gonna be in the PC for a long time. Otherwise, centering for that, we have 3 for centering. So if you split it up, it's pretty even across the board. I tried to do it that way, just so it's more symmetrical. 3 of them for print errors or print lines or print dots. I think that's the reason that it tipped the scale from a 10 to a 9 for these guys. And finally, this is whitening. So not a lot of whitening, or actually, in comparison, it is pretty even, but I was very particular about the whitening for this submission. I wasn't that particular about the centering and the print dots. Like, I completely neglected them. I didn't even notice them until I received it later. And recently, I've been submitting a lot more cards to PSA, so I've been much more analytical. This was the first submission back in early September or like late August that I had analyzed these cards. So back then, it was my first time grading. I wasn't as knowledgeable about grading and experienced, so really that's why there's not a lot of whitening issues, but more like the print error. The print error really hurts because I didn't notice those, and I don't know, it just sucks that you get 9s and stuff. And so finally we have the 6, which is probably surface damage, so the dent in the bottom left corner. Otherwise, it probably merited an 8 or a 9. That's fine. All right, so that's enough rambling from me. So hopefully I was thorough and you guys learned something from that video on what to do next or what to look out for when you submit a card. Probably do another video of me submitting cards or looking through cards to break it down in person when they're not slabs so you could see it maybe with a magnifying glass or something just to show you guys the process of how to do it. But this was my worst outcome, which is the 6. You live and learn. Hopefully it never happens again, but if it does happen, whatever, there's always next time. If you are planning to submit a card to PSA, hopefully this video helped you guys. And as always, if you guys like this video, please drop a like, subscribe if you guys are new here, and share this video with anyone that might find it useful or is looking to submit a card to PSA and what to look out for. And thank you guys for watching.